Bonjour, St. Francis. Bonjour, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 29th day of July, 2025. Tuesday of the 17th week of the year, the 17th week in Ordinary Time. It is also the day in which we honor the memory of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, the family of Bethany, friends of Jesus, who cared for Jesus, who responded to his needs, who were people who joined him in some way or another on his mission, but were very close to him. This used to be just the feast of the memorial of St. Martha, or the feast of St. Martha, but now it was extended to include her sister Mary and her brother Lazarus together. Again, so the family's seen as a unit. Although, again, in Luke's gospel, only Martha and Mary appear, the understanding is always that their brother Lazarus was a part of this. So remembering them on this day, again, remembering siblings, and again, sibling care and sibling fidelity, to each other, and what can be accomplished because siblings can work together and bring good again into this world. So down this little alley road over here takes us to the magnificent Iglesia San Sulpice, which is there. That's the bottom. That's the back of it, or the side of it, right over there. So just to come around here and to show a little bit of it before I have to get back to work doing my stuff as the secretary of this conference. So it is early morning. It is very temperate here. So it's like in the 70s, and there's really not a lot of humidity. So it's kind of very nice to be in Paris now, as opposed to a couple of years ago, or a couple of months ago, a couple of weeks ago, which I think it was over 100 degrees. So as Paris arises in the morning, you get to see here's San Sulpice. Who was San Sulpice? San Sulpice was one of the bishops of Paris, 7th century, called Sulpice the Pious because of his devotion and care for people in his flock, as all bishops, should demonstrate, should reveal. A basilica was built to him in the 13th century on this spot, but then in the 1600s, a marvelous Baroque basilica was built over the ruins of the 13th century basilica, which is kind of sad. You can see some of the ruins down below this, but you have to kind of ask, to get down there. But here is the Church of San Sulpice, and it is here in the 1600s. I forget what his name is, but founded the Society of San Sulpice, the Sulpicians, whose job after the Council of Trent was to work on the education of priests. They kind of began to found the first seminaries, which was a decree of the Council of Trent, so that priests may know what they're talking about when they're preaching and things like that, be able to administer the people well, doing their job. Some are better than others, at it. And this is the great fountain of the square of San Sulpice right here. So beautiful, beautiful church. They never ever created the pinnacles of the towers there, so they kind of have these strange, flat, squat towers right there. Okay, but enough of the tour. Okay, unless you still want to see that. The readings for today: Moses has to do something about the law that he has destroyed in anger against the Israelites, and so meeting tent is created. God comes to dwell there, calls upon Moses to be with him, as well as for Joshua, again Moses' lieutenant, and together they be able to talk with God. And as it says, Moses talks to God face to face, as a friend would talk to another friend. Again, this intimacy between God and Moses, in the sense of being able, to converse with God without fear and without trepidation, anxiety, what have you. Moses was able to experience that, and with that, then it comes the ability for God to speak about the fact that while the Israelites have disobeyed God, creating the golden calf, whatever it is, and there will be punishment, God is still, again, true and faithful to Israel. And Moses, again, implores upon God to continue on the journey with Israel, and God, agrees to do so. And with that, also then a second set of the commandments are created, so that the Israelites can have the law to know how to live and how to act, again, as God's people. And this whole idea of being a people who, again, are very stiff-necked, as Moses says, but yet God does not give up on them, in the same way that we should not give up on each other. We should never, ever toss each other aside. In Matthew's gospel, or Matthew or in Luke's gospel, John's gospel or Luke's gospel, we have a choice. We have either bad Martha or good Martha, however you choose to look at it. Again, in Luke's, we have a choice of Luke's gospel today with, Martha yelling that she doesn't have enough help in the kitchen, and God basically saying, Martha, you haven't chosen the best part, Mary has. But then we contrast that with the choice for John's gospel, in which Martha is the one who gets up, and while Mary, having heard Jesus' words, doesn't remember them. And basically Martha's the one who goes to Jesus and says, you need to get something done. My brother is dead and you have done nothing to help. You must do what you say that you can do. And Jesus does. And Lazarus is raised. Martha centering on this day, because again, there's not much written about there's not much written about Mary or Lazarus, but that Martha is the true catalyst in all of this. Someone, again, who may not be seeming to hear the word of God, but somebody who does, and then commands God to act, commands God to do what God must do through Jesus, and Lazarus is saved. We need to remember that. We need to remember to listen to what God says to us, and then also to do what our listening tells us to do. A blessed day from Paris, St. Francis, and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.